McCoy, and today I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about how I made this mummified frostbitten skull corpse head along with his frostbitten decaying hand. So to start off, I made this prop hand quite a while ago for a short film that unfortunately never ended up being made. So I kept the prop anyway, and what it was a plastic skeleton from like Spirit, Walmart, whatever. I took the arm off, and this is the prop now. What I did was I took the arm off, I took the plastic hand off as well. I did an alginate mold of my hand. I put it in a bucket full of alginate and let it set. Then I made a latex skin. I poured some latex in there and let that cure. And then I used spray foam. So it's pretty solid. Usually with like poly foam, you can flex a little bit. The only reason why the fingers flex and move is because those are full latex. There's no foam in there. And then I cut a hole in the hand and I fit the skeleton piece into the foam and then glued it with super glue. And then all the tendons and muscle and fun stuff that you see is mainly spray foam. So the cool thing about spray foam is when you use it, after a couple minutes as it's starting to cure, it gets really like sticky and stringy. And I just used a popsicle stick, took some of the foam and just with the popsicle stick kind of spread it along and made these interesting looking tendon like looks. And then once that fully set and dried, I did the basic latex and cotton ball method, a little bit of tissue paper and paper towels as well, and just layered it all over in the deep parts and pretty much everywhere, and just kind of strung it along and just made it look gross. I was like, well, what can I use this for? And I had the skull that I made some stuff with, and I was like, sweet, I'm gonna repurpose this. Broke it here where I wanted it, didn't need that piece anymore, and then I repainted the hand with some Pro Air airbrush paint. A couple different colors I used. This one is Walking Dead. I think the other one that I used was like Tombstone or Gravestone or something like that, like gray. So I added the gray and the Walking Dead, which is like a white color, pretty much all over first. And then I mixed liquid latex with black acrylic paint and put that all over the fingertips. And as I was doing that, I realized I made some wounds on the tips of the fingers, and I thought, oh, let's make some more. So I carved out some pieces from the hand. So it actually, you can see the real depth, it's a real carve. I put some red acrylic paint in there and then just went around it with the black latex and acrylic paint mix. I let that set, and then I came back around again with that Pro Air and sprayed just a little bit more to kind of tie the colors into the rest of the hand. And that's the hand. That's pretty much in a nutshell how I made the hand. So this is the skull that I had gotten to start with. Got it on Amazon. Wasn't crazy expensive. I think when I got it, may have even been on sale for like 25, 26 bucks. There's a spring on the bottom that keeps the mouth closed, but you can move it. So what I did first, before I did anything, was I took the spring off. There's some screws here. Took the spring off. I unhinged the jaw. See, these just pop right out. There's a little bit of silicone in there. So then I can pull the bottom jaw apart. And then from there, I messed around with the teeth. So, really hard to see, kind of get in close. The teeth are kind of like, sort of stuck together. They're plastic, or maybe resin, or whatever. So I had to take a razor blade in between the teeth to separate them first. Then I took pliers, and then I individually took some of the teeth out. From there, I used wood stain. I stained the entire skull. Well, back up. Before I did that, I, as you see, made the jaw stay open. What I did for that was, after I messed around with the teeth, I put it in a position that I liked, and then I super glued the hinges back to the skull. I let that sit for a few minutes, let it dry, and then I came back around with epoxy putty. Epoxy putty is a 2-part putty. You can see this box is completely screwed. You mix equal parts. This one's white and black. You mix equal parts and like Play-Doh or clay, mix it around, and then I put it around, it's really hard to see, but I put it around where the hinges were, just as an extra support, because super glue, it's good, but I wanted to make sure that it doesn't move. So that was how I got the jaw where I wanted. Now, going back, I did take the wood stain. I stained the entire skull, everything, the deep pockets of the eye sockets, in the nose, the teeth, and then I let that sit for a few minutes, wiped it off, and then let it dry fully. From there, I did a layer of liquid latex all over the entire thing, just as kind of a base for everything else to kind of stick to. So once that dried, same thing, came in with the liquid latex and cotton ball method. Also some paper towels as well back here, the spots that really don't end up on camera or anything, just to get a full base of skin, flesh, whatever on there. So I was doing that. The only tool that I used, and I'm sorry this isn't like a in-depth how I sculpted everything, but literally the only tool that I used for that was this right here, a little metal spatula. So I put the cotton on there when it was mixed up with the latex, spread it around with one end, and then let it sit for a few minutes. It got to almost like a kind of like a putty-ish or like a paste type of feel, and then I went in and did more lines like wrinkles and stuff for the skin texture. And that's what I did for the eyebrows area, the cheekbones, around the lips, around the here, all this stuff on the top of the head. It's pretty much that method. When it came to like this part where they stretch down over here, they're what's called nurnies. You lay out some latex on a table, we pour it out the liquid, just let it dry. Don't touch it, let it sit. Came back maybe a day or two later, I think. This took me a couple of days just because I only worked on it when I had time to after work. But anyway, I came back and the latex that's on the table, once it's dry and fully cured, I just used my fingernail, like just scrape along certain areas and it kind of rips holes in it. And then peel it off the table and stretch it from one spot to the other. Now, the difficult part with that is sometimes it doesn't like to stick. So I hot glued a lot of this down as well. I put hot glue down, put a piece of the, or one end of the latex on there, let that kind of cure for 30 seconds, minute or so, and then stretched it again and did the same exact thing, hot glued it down and did the same thing, let it dry. So that's how I got these like stringy bits on the jaw. As for the ears, the eye sockets, the nose cartilage, and a little bit of lip down here, and then also under here, just to, because I wasn't sure what you'd be able to see on camera. That is all black air dry foam clay. This stuff is great. It's super cheap. Hobby Lobby, Michaels, Joann, Fabrics, Amazon, or so I think sometimes Walmart might have it. Don't quote me on that. But as you can see, this is like $2.49 for a little bucket. That stuff is great. What I did with that is I just, sculpted some of the like eyelids in there, the nose cartilage, the ears. I didn't go full detail with wrinkles except for around the eye sockets or the eyelids. And you can see a little bit of wrinkles in there. I know it's kind of hard to see. But as soon as I put all that on, and the lip too, I took latex, liquid latex, and went right over it immediately. Because what this stuff tends to do as it cures, it kind of expands a little bit. So I didn't want it to expand too much, so I put the latex on it. The latex kind of kept it in place and didn't really let it expand very far. It did expand a little bit. It kind of shrunk in the ears, but that's what I wanted because, you know, something like this happens to a real person. That part is what shrivels up and gets gross and blackened and decays first. And I just thought it would be extra detail to it because at first I wasn't going to. I was going to do the cotton and latex method again and just make like really stringy, almost like cobweb looking forms, and I didn't like the idea of that, so I saw the foam clay and I said, screw it, why not? And that's what I did. The eyeball, I am now rethinking. I wish I kind of didn't put it in there. At the time, I was looking at real pictures of mummified frozen corpses to get ideas of what the face looks like, what the colors look like, what happens to the skin, what happens to the teeth, what happens to the nose, the ears, the eyelids, all that stuff. And a few that I had seen, they still had eyeballs in their sockets, which I thought was kind of interesting. They were very white and very blue. Like the pupils and the iris and that stuff were kind of like a bright blue. So I don't know if that may have been photoshopped in, if that was real, if that really happens, but I had some eyeballs that I've had made, just resin eyeballs. There's a couple other ones. Make like, I don't know, I make a bunch of these just for fun. I use them in my sculpts and stuff, and love the zombie ones. They're just fun to make. So I liked this one and I thought it would fit. The pupil was grayish blued out enough. There's like around, like the blood around there, like the capillaries and stuff burst. So I put it in, and then I took pictures. It was very bright outside in the snow with it, and it really made the eyeball pop more than I wanted it to. But it's in there, and it's glued in, so that ain't coming out. As for the paint itself and the colors, for this, I used Tim Gore's Bloodline paints by Createx Colors. They are airbrush color paints. This is the adhesion promoter, which is like, it helps the paint stick. So you put this on first, you let it dry, it gets tacky and sticky, and then you go in with the airbrush colors and you paint. So this was after the staining was done and after the latex is on there. What I did was I went in first with, I believe it was brown. I went in with brown and did all the deep crevices around like where the skin is coming off of the skull. And then I went in with purple, and I went into the same areas, the deeper crevices and stuff. And there's a cat in the background. This is Gizmo. He likes to knock stuff over. So I did brown and purple first. Then once those dried, I went over it with a fleshy color. It's buried back there. I just kind of went over everything with a little bit of a fleshy color. I didn't do too much. I want the latex is like a fleshy color enough. I didn't do the entire thing too much because the latex itself is like a fleshy color when it dries, and then with the stain underneath it, it really pops. So I didn't do a whole lot, but I did want to get more of the like a bright type of flesh color, you know, after being in the snow and in the frozen temperatures that long. The blood goes away in the skin, so it starts to get white first. In the first couple degrees of frostbite, the skin sort of turns white. before it decays and turns black. So that's what I wanted to do with that. And then I came in afterwards. Now, this paint is great. I love the paint. I use it on masks and stuff all the time. The only problem I'm finding with it, because it's water-based, you have to seal it. I personally like to use this Liquitex matte varnish in a spray can. I go over it quite a few times, and it helps to keep the paint in place, because if it gets wet, it's going to bleed. Unfortunately with this, I've been running out, so I had to get new stuff. But at the time, I only got maybe like one pass over the entire thing. I took the pictures outside. I threw some snow on it just to give it some more effect. Took some pictures. It looked great. And then I started to notice some of the purple bleeding down. I was like, well, that kind of sucks. But if you get enough of the sealer on there, the stuff is great. It doesn't move. After I sealed it with that, then I went in with latex, liquid latex and black acrylic paint, and went over some of the areas like the lip, the nose cartilage, the eye sockets, the ears. I did all those kind of again, and then around where the skin is falling off the skull to show more of that decay, and like inside the nose and underneath. So that was pretty much the paint job. And then for the hair, I used crepe hair. I think it's Mayron. And you can get it at Amazon. Honestly, that's the only store, or really the only place I can find it. If you're in the Buffalo, New York area like I am, there is a store here called George & Company that has really cool costumes and novelty items and makeup, and they do have crepe hair. They have Mayron makeup, liquid, cream-based paint sticks, palettes, all types of stuff. But I used, it was like a dark brown color. That's what I had at the time. So I used Prozaid to stick it down. I use a Q-tip, dip it in the Prozaid, put it on certain areas, let it get tacky, and then I come in and put the hair down in little strands, and then let that dry. I didn't trim anything on the hair. I just left it after I put it on. You can trim it to whatever style you want. You can cut it, make it look how, whatever. The only thing I did with the hair afterwards was I came in with just a little bit of white hairspray and just did a little bit on there. And then I used some hairspray to keep it in place. I sprayed that, used a hair dryer, and it made it all like gross looking and keeps it kind of how you place the hair then in that spot. But I did like around the head, I did some hair, I did some areas of the eyebrows. The eyebrows are kind of long. I left them. Like I said, I didn't really trim anything. But yeah, in a nutshell, that is how I made this guy right here. Like I said, it took me a couple days just because I worked on it just when I had the time after work. Come home, do a little bit, eat dinner, do a little bit. So I would say at total, maybe about a week this took me. If I had like a full weekend, like a full Saturday and Sunday to sit down and just do nothing but work on this, you can get it done in a weekend. I have more stuff that had to do with this. This was not just a thing by itself. I plan on doing some frostbitten zombie makeups that I've been making prosthetics for, and this guy was just going to be in the background. I finished him first, took pictures. A bunch of people freaked out, thought it was real. That's why I'm making this video. I'm not a serial killer, not a grave robber. This is fake, I promise. Prosthetics that I will be doing the frostbitten makeup on. So this is what he started as. You don't have to use that type of skull. I just like the teeth on it. They look more realistic. You can get one like this. You know, the entire thing is resin plastic. Jaw moves, comes apart, and you can glue it to however you want. The only difficult thing with this would be removing teeth. I did it previously on one. I don't have it anymore. But I took a Dremel and took some of the teeth out. Didn't look bad. I like that kind better over here. But this works just as great. and especially if you're using it for Halloween props or a background prop in a movie or a short film or something, these are just as good. They're cheaper, I think like $10 or something on Amazon for these. But like I said, I like the teeth for some reason. Teeth are a big thing to me when it comes to corpses and zombies and stuff. I think that's like a huge focal point. So that's why I like that more and I focused on that. But yeah, so that's how I made those. If you have any questions, feel free to comment and I would be more than willing to help you guys out. So thank you for coming. Thank you for watching.